In hindsight, I don't know what I was expecting from a playlist entitled Music to Relax to. Cherry Blossom, I think, is that an emoji? I wish when you hovered over emojis it told you what they were. This feels like a design flaw in existence. Oh. Man. Today's one of those days. And by those days, I mean... I woke up with a migraine, and I took stuff for it, and nothing has changed. It's still just there. Just annoying me all day. Always lovely. Well, we'll see where things go today. Obviously with the big Switch 2 thing coming up on Wednesday, which I will definitely, although probably not live, because I suspect it goes live at like 6 fucking a.m. as always with Nintendo Directs. And I have to, well no, I'm off, so actually, we can, what I might do is do an earlier stream than usual on Wednesday. If you remember the old stream time, back when it was, you know, slightly. Okay, a lot more than slightly. Remember the old stream time, which was like... What time is it now? Like 7 hours and change earlier. I might... Probably not around that time. It was also not like 7 and change, it was more like 6 and change. But I might fire up early on Wednesday instead. Just so that we can get this out of the way. Like, I'll wake up, shower, eat lunch, while, like, intentionally tuning out everything that could involve me interacting with other human beings. Then we'll fire up, we'll do the Switch 2 presentation, we'll probably freak out about that for an hour. Then, like I said, we'll play Dream Barbecue for however long I want to, and then we'll be done. And that'll kind of be our Wednesday. It'll be a little bit of a funky Wednesday, but it'll be a Wednesday. Today, we're gonna lead hit with making a bingo card, which is something I don't do often. Because usually with Directs, I'm like, you know, oh, Nintendo announced this and it's tomorrow morning. And frankly, I don't know if I really even care. There's like maybe 2 things I'd put on a bingo square for the average Nintendo Direct. I tend not to go into these with expectations, because going into them with expectations usually means you get a 20-minute indie sizzle reel that nobody cares about because it's like 75% farming sims. But for the Switch 2, I'm willing to make an exception to that rule. Because this, we can have expectations for. This is like the old days, you know? For a few years now, it's been kind of, you know, you get maybe 1 or 2 things in a Direct that really wow you. And then otherwise, more or less, you're just kind of existing in a world in which, you know, you have to pretend farming simulators are cool. But there's gonna be cool, I guarantee you, there's gonna be knock your socks off things from Nintendo, obviously, There's gonna be knock your socks off things from third parties. There's a fucking old console. There's a console on Wednesday. But I guess let's just get into it, huh? Boop. Just in case. Yeah, okay, good. We're in a perfectly good, normal situation here. Don't worry about it. This is normal. Hold on. Bongo. What, you thought I was going to use, like a professional software or something? No. Who do you think I am? A person who knows what they're doing? No, we're using this here website. It's a website that does bingo cards, and that's really all you need to know. Anyway, switch to bingo. Let's talk about some stuff that we're probably going to see. And I'm not limiting myself to the number of squares here. We're going to keep going as long as me and everybody in the chat has ideas we're throwing on here. And at the end, we'll hit this nice little shuffle words button a couple times to get what will actually populate our board. I think you can go all the way down to a 3x3 bingo. A 3x3 bingo, by the way, is not a bingo. A 3x3 bingo is a Sudoku, which admittedly would be funny, but that's not what we're here for. Alright, so, obviously first things first, it has finally been promoted. It no longer is that thing that you put in as, like, you know, the Hail Mary drop back. It is real, it is guaranteed, it's a fucking free space, it's the Switch 2. I don't know why I don't know why I'm talking like this. This is the closest I've ever gotten to YouTube voicing. It's terrible. Someone take me out back. Oh yeah, I didn't mention it before, but yeah, once we're done with this, we'll see where I'm at. Maybe I'm, you know, maybe somehow doing this and talking for like 30 minutes or an hour gets me raring to do a couple of quests in Cyber Sleuth. Or maybe it just makes my migraine worse and I'm like, fuck it, I'm calling stream. We'll find out. But yeah, Switch 2 is, you know, on there. I guess let's get some obvious stuff out of the way. Well, no. There's nothing that's obvious. I was gonna say let's get some obvious stuff out of the way, but none of this stuff is obvious. I think there's one thing that is obvious, but the question is, do I take a flyer on the name? There's two ways I could word this. I could write down Mario Kart 9, in which case I am saying the new Mario Kart game is called Mario Kart 9. Or I could just say New Mario Kart. Thankfully, it seems like most people have stopped with this nonsense that it's Mario Kart 8 Super Deluxe. No. Stop. Cease. It's a new game. But the thing is, are they going to call it Mario Kart 9? Or do they... There's a couple weird ways they could do it. They could be like, well, technically, 8 Deluxe was actually the 9th Mario Kart game because it buoyed an entire console generation. Therefore, this game is Mario Kart 10 or Mario Kart X. Or they could just be like Windows, who after Windows 8, they were like, yeah, the next one's Windows 10 because it was so radically better that we decided to skip over 9 entirely. Huh. Nonsense, I tell you. But yeah, I think... You know what? What are we if not bold here, right? Oh, this is, Fire Emblem music. I love this song, by the way. We're gonna actually do this. Make life a little easier for everybody. We don't need all this dead space. There. Now everybody can see the wonderful things we are writing. Also, it's not going to refresh in real time. We'll, every so often, once we like clear a category of ideas, we'll refresh the board, but eventually the board is going to fill up, so it doesn't really matter. The magic is kind of on the left side here, let's be honest. Alright. So, a new Mario Kart, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Mario Kart 9, because just saying a new Mario Kart feels so cheap. Like, I figured out, by the way, that's definitely my email being like, hey, a video just went live on your channel, and it's just this live stream starting. That's all it is. But yeah, so yeah, that I think is the only free, guaranteed reveal. I think that's it. It's just that. That's the only thing I think we are guaranteed to see. Everything else from here on out, there's a question as to if it even will be there. Well, okay, there's two things. It's the Switch 2 and it's Mario Kart 9. On which note, I guess we could go down and talk about some Switch 2 specs. Specs, gimmicks, other fun facts. I'm going to lead this off with... Yeah, I'm willing to do 2 squares here. Both, I think one of these two is going to happen. Either they are going to give us the price, and the price is... I'm trying to math here. Hang on, let me pull out my calculator. Yeah, okay. Oh, hold on. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say either give us the cost, and the cost is over $400, which, hold on. So, for it to be over what I'm basically saying here is, I think the... Well, no, $399 was the general assessment, wasn't it? So... What was the Switch's launch price? Hold on, let me look that up. Was it... I always forget if it was $299 or $399. The original Switch came out in 2017 for $290. That is fucking cheap, man. Yeah, I'm actually going to revise this. I fully reserve the right to revise things as we're going through, and this is one of those moments where I'm revising it. I am revising it up. Sounds like most people expect it to be more expensive than the Switch 1, obviously. I don't think anybody expects Nintendo to put out a $299 system anymore. I think most people are kind of expecting $399. You've heard some people talking $499. I'm saying it costs over $500. So if it's $499, this square doesn't get ticked, if those people are right. If they say it's, you know, $550... I still have my calculator up? Yes. If they say it is... If they say it's... Like, if they say it's $499.99, that square doesn't get checked. But if they say it's $500 even, or $550, $549.99, $599.99, then that square gets checked. And I should specify when I say this, I'm talking about what is the, like, standard version of the system. So if they announce that there's a Like, at launch, there's gonna... If they do an Xbox Series X and S, where, like, there's a cheap version, but it's digital only, that price doesn't count. I'm talking the price of the version that takes cartridges and is backwards compatible is going to be over $500. The other thing that I think is possible we see, and obviously these are mutually exclusive squares. They don't give a price. Both of the reason I am predicting either a higher than anticipated price point or that they don't give us a price point at all is because tariffs. Note that I'll be watching the US version of this. It's very possible that the version you are watching might determine if you find out the price point tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, on Wednesday. I keep thinking it's the first today for some reason. But yeah, so in Europe, you may get a price point. In Japan, you may get a price point. In the US, they might not even talk about the price point. Or they might give a very high price point. Because there's a lot... I mean, if you live in America, you know it's the start of a new month, which means it's time to talk about tariffs and crashing the economy again. So, Nintendo's sitting here like, well, is the console going to be the originally anticipated MSRP? Or are we going to have to tack on an extra 20% for tariffs? Especially because apparently the word is that Japan, China, and South Korea are intending to retaliate on tariffs of US stuff. Which the regime has said they will tariff in return in that case. Meaning, it may have been an MSRP of $4.99, it may have been an MSRP of $3.99. They might not know if that MSRP will stand, or if it's gonna be like $600 by the time all the tariffs are applied. That's why I think either we're gonna get a higher than expected price point, or we're gonna get no price point. Speaking of mutually exclusive things, let's just write down the rumor that's been swirling. Hold on. I think it was... I'll just word it like this. Summer launch. Because I don't remember if the rumors were that it was June or July. This would basically be that the rumors were true. I say rumors because I come from the WoW community. Nothing that is leaked is real until there is a visual on a screen telling you it's real. It's a rumor until then. The rumor is summer launch. I personally am still unconvinced. I don't think they have enough games in reserve right now. I think there's too much still upcoming for the Switch 1. And I think it's too little advertising time. I'm extremely unconvinced it's summer, which is why I have a second input here, which is what I think is going to happen. Launch. October. I think it's coming out in October. That would put it right before the holiday rush. Admittedly, it's probably late October. I could see it even edging into early November, but I'm not gonna mark it if it is. To me, I think it's a holiday launch because that lets them get either Prime 4 or Legend ZA out the door first while the Switch is still a living console. And then the other one can be, you know, a dual launch title. Doing it in summer means one of those two games is getting the shaft. And I guarantee you they're not interested in giving Pokemon the shaft. And I think if they were going to give Prime... Well, I guess there's a world where they could give Prime 4 the shaft. Man, that'd piss off a lot of people. But I feel like they won't, because then why wouldn't they have given us the release date last week? If they didn't give us the release date, That means Prime 4 is probably releasing alongside the Switch 2. We know, due to Nintendo actually leaking it, that there are going to be games that have quote-unquote Switch 2 editions. Which we can assume is like Breath of the Wild having a Switch 1 edition. Higher quality, better performance. It's basically the definitive version. You don't play the old version. So I think probably what's going to happen is I think Legend ZA gets like the September-October slot as kind of the last big Switch 1 game. And then Prime 4 gets the kind of around Halloween time slot where it's matched up with the Switch 2 launching in October. That's why I'm putting that square down. Here's another rumor that's been going around. Pointer controls. This one goes back a bit. You probably heard that there's the mystery button, which recently got revealed to be called the C button. I guess, maybe in keeping with it being called the C button, let's change this to cursor controls. This is a rumor that goes back to kind of that immediate aftermath of the reveal back in January, where people were coming out and saying, yeah, the Switch 2's big gimmick is it's got, I don't remember if they said it was a button or a stick. I think it was that the right stick can be used to control literally a PC-style cursor. I'm shaking my cursor on my screen as if you can see it. Literally a PC-style cursor. I think that's a thing. That seems like the exact kind of dumb gimmick that Nintendo would roll with. You push the C button, and the console enters cursor mode, where now your sticks move a cursor around the screen instead of, you know, just boop. Instead of going click, 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 click between like individual windows, it instead is a freewheeling cursor like the Wii had, where you could send it anywhere you want to interact with things. And they're gonna gimmick the fuck out of it. You thought waggling the Wiimote was bad? Wait till you get Wind Waker HD Switch Edition, Switch 2 Edition, where that sliding puzzle? Oh, no. You don't just move. You don't just hit left, right, up, down. No. You take your cursor, you grab that tile, and you move it where you want it to go. Oh my god, I just realized. That's how they do. That's how they manage to get. In fact, I want to write these two things down right now. Wind Waker HD Switch 2 Edition. And DS on Switch Online. Actually, I'm not gonna actually like say that if this one doesn't happen, I'm not gonna click it, but I'm gonna call it DS on Nintendo Online. Because I think they're gonna rename Switch Online. It's gonna just be called Nintendo Online. Because it's going to give you access to both the Switch Online and the Switch 2 Online. Now, there's a world where they say, well, they're both the Switch, so we'll just keep it as is. So that's why I'm not going to be super pedantic about that one. But just a little fun tidbit there. But yeah, DS is there, where the pointer controls and hitting the C button allows you to interact with the bottom screen now by using the cursor like a finger, which they'll also use for Wind Waker HD Switch 2 Edition. Why would I say Wind? I guess you could also say Twilight Princess. I'm just saying Wind Waker. If they do a combo pack with both games, I'll mark Wind Waker still. I'm just saying Wind Waker is coming. I'm less convinced they do both at once, so that's why I'm leaving that off. DS I think is free. To go along with that, let's just toss this in as well. GameCube on Nintendo Online. We were expecting it on the Switch already. They didn't do it. I think they're going to do it for Switch 2. In fact, I bet you what they're going to do is they're going to say that... In fact, you know what? N64 and GBA become part of the base online, meaning that cheap $4.99 version now provides you with N64 and GBA titles. And they say, now, on Switch 2, the expansion pack will give you DS and GameCube games on the Switch 2. Whereas the expansion pack for Switch... I always want to pull up a visual aid here, but so essentially on the Switch 1 you have, so for Nintendo Online you still have Basic and Expansion Pack. On the Switch 1, Basic gives you all that it does now. Expansion Pack gives you N64 and GBA. On Switch 2, the Basic gives you all of what you have now, plus N64 and GBA. And the Expansion Pack gives you DS and GameCube games. That's what I'm thinking. That's a little wordy, so I'm just going to say that N64 and GBA become part of Base Online. Again, this is just about the Switch 2. It doesn't matter what happens with the Switch 1. As long as those two are part of your basic $4.99 online tier for Switch 2, that's getting checked. Doesn't matter if there's still expansion pack for Switch 1. That's what I'm thinking. What else? There's been apparently some implications that this is probably going to be a thing. AI upscaling. And when I say that, I don't mean, we took this cutscene and ran it through ChatGPT, and look what it made! No, I mean, actually, GPU on-chip upscaling. It's got, AI upscale textures, DLSS, whatever the one for, where if your frame rate drops, it will use AI to, fill in the missing frames. That kind of stuff. Those kinds of features, I think are going to be a part of the Switch 2. Now, I think those features only turn on when you have the system docked. On that point, hold on, let me check something here. What is that median point? $2K dot. I want to actually further specify that. 1440p. I think they're not going to output true 4K. I think what they are going to do, though, is they're going to be when docked... So here's what I think it's going to be. In fact, let me just add this next line. This next line will help to explain what I'm saying here. Well, hold on. Let's just call it tablet. Fine. You can tell I have my gloves on, because I'm typing like shit. Okay. So I think what they're going to say is, it runs undocked as a 1080p tablet, as opposed to the current Switch, which runs 720p. I think they're going to say that when you dock it, it then turns on the AI upscaling on the chip, which then allows it to output at 2K resolution, or 1440p, technically. Because most of these people who talk about 2K aren't doing true 2K resolution. They're doing 1440p, which is technically 2K wide. It's like 2080 by 1440 or something like that, which is where they get 2K from, but in reality it's 1440. Like how 1080p is actually 1920 by 1080p. So I think that's how those three kind of all go together. If you get one of those three, well, at least of the top two of those bottom three, if you get one of those, I think you're getting the other. So ideally those shouldn't be in the same row together, but we'll try and shuffle it to make it not suck, but we'll see. How's the card looking right now? Here's our card right now. Okay, so is that everything as far as specs go? We've talked about the C button, we've talked about pricing, launch window, online updates, graphical quality, what the dock will do. You know what? We haven't tossed any big flyers yet. A lot of this stuff is pretty believable. Here's a flyer. I'll keep adding it till they bring them back, damn it. We went an entire Switch generation with only 2 themes, light and dark theme. Come on, give me my game-themed themes back. I loved those. I spent money on them on the 3DS. Come on, Nintendo, you like money. I'll give you money. Just let me have, you know, let me have fucking Princess Zelda running around on my home screen, you know? Alright, I think that's it from a technical standpoint. Right, we've kind of covered everything that's worth covering from a technical standpoint. Let's get to the real meat and potatoes. The real thing we all want. Video games. If the console doesn't launch with them, it's gonna fail. We learned that lesson from the Wii U. At least, I hope we learned that lesson from the Wii U, and this thing isn't launching in June with no games, except only the promise of you can play your Switch 1 games on it. That would suck. That's not a world that we want to live in. So let's pretend we don't live in that world, so we can cry when we do. So we already talked about a couple here. Mario Kart 9, Wind Waker HD, Switch 2 Edition. Prime 4. We've kind of talked about that one. And we'll also throw in Legends, ZA. Again, I think we're almost guaranteed to get a Prime 4 Switch 2 Edition. In fact, Nintendo apparently recently said they now, because of how well Dread performed, they consider Metroid to be one of their top flight franchises in terms of sales. Which, if that's the case, then that is almost guaranteed to get a Switch 2 Edition. Pokemon, you would think it would, but Game Freak has managed to be just complete idiots time and time again, and I don't expect to see that changing anytime soon. Here's one that was brought up in a group chat I was in. I don't know if it was last night or 2 nights ago, but Yakuza. I'm just going to include Yakuza just as its own square. In fact, I'm going to actually say /like-a-dragon. Just to cover my bases here. So, I've heard a couple of different rumors about Sega bringing Like a Dragon games to Switch. I've heard Zero is coming to Switch too. I've heard Kiwami is coming to Switch 2. I've heard Infinite Wealth is coming to Switch 2. I haven't heard Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is coming to Switch 2. Though I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Like, if they can bring it... If the rumors of Infinite Wealth are true, then Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is absolutely coming eventually. Like, it seems... There's enough rumors percolating around that I'm willing to believe that something from that franchise is coming to Switch 2 on Wednesday. I did it again. I need a counter. I need a counter for every time I say the Direct is tomorrow when it's on Wednesday. But yeah, I've seen enough different rumors that I'm sure something is going to happen. I just don't know what. Like, I could expand that and do every one of those games individually, but we're not doing that. By the way, I say that, but I have also heard some people think there's going to be a Kiwami 3 announcement. I think those people are idiots. But we're going to pad out our sheet with it anyway. So, port of an existing game versus new game. Let's stick with Sega. Both of those, I believe, are very possible to happen. If not probable. The only reason I would say I'd not consider them a absolute slam dunk guarantee is because I think they'd only do one of them. At least right away. I think one of those is done for launch. One of those comes along probably sometime early part of next year. And I'm actually not sure which one. Is this Final Fantasy music? No, it's Xenoblade, but I keep almost hearing the do 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 in there. Okay, but yeah, I think I'm leaning towards, I think the surer bet for them, because obviously this has likely been in the works for a bit, I think the surer bet from Atlas was the P3R would be a hit. Because it's Persona. So I think that one is the one that comes out at launch. And then I think a port of Metaphor comes probably early next year. Now, if it does launch in June, I reserve the right for the Metaphor port to actually be at the tail end of this year. But either way, I think they're going to do P3R, about a like 4 to 6 month gap, then Metaphor port. In the end, I think both of them are on Switch 2. I'm not putting down Persona 6. We know how this works for P Studio. They only do new game announcements at Super Live in, what is it, August or September, I believe, usually. So we're not going to see P6. I'm not even going to write that down. Anyone who wrote that down doesn't know how P Studio works. That's how you can identify a real fan versus a fake fan. Next question. Next question, what else? What other games? Oh! Here's one. Let's jump to their other Let's jump to the other rival in the JRPG business. FF7R port. I'm just saying FF7R because I don't think they would port specifically Rebirth and not Remake. And frankly, I'm not even entirely sure if Rebirth can be, if the Switch 2 can handle Rebirth. I'm gonna be that person. But it can definitely handle Remake. So maybe they announce a special Switch 2 combo pack that includes 7 Remake and 7 Rebirth. Maybe they announced just Remake. Maybe they announced Remake gets a physical edition and Rebirth gets a cloud edition. In fact, I think that last one is probably what ends up happening. Is they announce that FF7 Remake plus Intergrade is coming to the Switch 2 at launch physically. And then later, they won't give a date, but they'll be like, and also, boom, FF7 Rebirth Cloud Edition. So in fact, you know what? Well, no. Once I make the indentation, once I indent, we are following through. That's the plan here. I'm just gonna call it R2. Fine, we'll call it Rebirth. Means we gotta name this Remake. Remake Port Rebirth Cloud Edition. Yeah, we'll actually put them on there. How's our board looking? 2 more, and then we reach the point where we're gonna actually start losing some squares. That was the plan, of course. Anything else of Square Enix? I'm not going to indent it because this is meant to be a joke. So I'm not going to write it down because the rule now is once I indent, I have to commit. Or once I new line, I have to commit. Alright? So we're specifically not new lining, so I don't have to commit to this. This is a joke. FF14 Switch 2 Edition. I'm doing a smile that anyone who's played 7.2 knows the smile I'm doing right now. It's the fucking simulant smile. No, I don't think that's happening. I think Yoshi P has talked about that he's talked about doing a Switch version of 14. But I think ultimately it's not going to happen for not the reason you think. Remember, the game is still playable on PS4, at least until 8.0. If they really wanted to, throw it on the Switch 2 and say, also we're keeping the PS4 version open. Like that's like I could see. Sorry, I had to respond to something. I could see them doing that. I could absolutely see them throwing it on the Switch and being like, also we're keeping the PS4 version. Deal with it. PS4 limitations live forever. At least until the Switch 3. So basically forever. But no, I think the reason that they are not going to do it and why I'm not putting it on this bingo board is because. Turn the little slight boosted audio. A little quiet. The reason I think they are not going to do it is because it's a mobile console. For the same reason why I don't think they would ever put it on phones. Well. Oh no. Oh fuck. I'm committing. I forgot about this. Wait, what is it called? Pocket Edition is what Nintendo calls shit. Hold on. chat over here as well. FF14. Done. Mobile. I originally said they'd never put it on phones, but they did put it on phones. And if they can put it on phones, they can put it on the Switch too. Now I still believe that they will always keep PC and console and mobile, in quotes, ow my finger. I'm wearing the compression gloves, by the way. My fingers are still doing that. I hate it here. Hate being old. I think they'll always keep those two groups in their own buckets. So PC, Xbox, and PlayStation are in bucket A, which is currently in Dawn Trail 7.2. Phones and Switch will always be in bucket B, which is going to be, whenever it finally launches, in A Realm Reborn 2.0. Now, I assume they will eventually, because that's like a 12-year gap, they're going to speedrun mobile to probably catch up to maybe an expansion behind. But I think they're always going to be in separate buckets for one very specific reason. On phones and on the Switch, your connection is a lot more variable. You go into... You'll have morons who are playing on fucking McDonald's Wi-Fi. You'll have that guy in your group who is playing on the train from Tokyo to Kyoto, and he goes into a tunnel, and the Pokeball of Doom pops up next to his name. They are not going to release those kinds of players into the general player base. That's why I think there's a chance, I think it's infinitesimally small right now, mostly because it's not even out on phones yet and this is being developed by a secondary company, but there's an infinitesimally small chance that they announce that will also be coming to Switch 2, which is not unheard of. Square Enix did this before with FF15 Pocket Edition coming to phones and Switch. I think they did it with the complete edition of FF7. Not remake. That, like, FF7 gotcha story recap nonsense title, I think came to Switch and phones. Square Enix has a history of doing this. And I think there's a world where they do it again for 14. It's a very small world at the moment. I think if we were to jump, 6 years into the future, 6, 7, 8, 9 years into the future, when we're talking about, when is the Switch 3 reveal? When is the Switch 3 reveal? Is this the direct they announced the Switch 3? I think by that point, FF14 Mobile will be on the Switch 2. I think the odds of it being on announced on Wednesday, probably less than 10%. I'd even be willing to say less than 5%. Once it is released on phones, then I think every direct that becomes a 50-50 proposition. There's another thing. Oh yeah, there is another FF game out there. That's right, I forgot about this one. A cloud edition of 16 because I don't believe the Switch 2 will be strong enough to handle 16 on its own. Similar reason to Rebirth. Next question. I know some people are talking about Oh god, I can't, am I gonna new line and commit to this? Let's talk it through a little. This year is the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy IX. There's been a lot of talk that they are going to, at some point this year, announce a 9 remake. We've heard rumors that Creative Studio 3, formerly Creative Business Unit 3, the studio that did 16 and does 14, may be the ones behind it. I wouldn't put too much stock in that because Creative Studio 3 gets attached to every Final Fantasy game these days. Because obviously the other big studio is still tied up in FF7 content. I guess to be fair, as I'm thinking about it, 16 is content complete, they've said. 14 still is 14. Like, I'm sure it has reabsorbed some of that 16 team, but the rest of that team is just kind of sitting out there, needing something to do. They could be working on a 9 port. But the question is, do they use the Switch event to announce it? Well, yeah, Square Enix is like, yeah, we really want to, like, nail down on not doing cross-plat anymore. I don't know. To me, it seems like a Switch 2 event would be a weird... I know I technically new-lined, but that was just me automatically doing it. That doesn't count. Like, if I start talking about something and then I hit new line, that's me committing to it. But if I finish writing addition and then just new line out of habit, that doesn't count. Silence. Be gone. Don't actually be gone. Stay. Do I think enough to write it down? My hands are still in my lap. They have not been swayed towards the keyboard. Do I think that they would announce an FF9 remake at the Switch event? I'm going to go with no. For the record, I've said no and then talked myself into something before. Look at FF14 Mobile being there. This isn't confirmation that it's not happening. This is me saying right now, I'm thinking no. Because I think if they announce it, like, everything that is announced on Wednesday is going to be inherently overshadowed by the Switch 2 itself, and probably, you know, their big, Nintendo's big first-party titles. And I think if you're Square Enix and this is your big 25th anniversary, you want to announce FF9 remake. And I say remake loosely because I don't think it's like FF7 style. I just mean it's a remake of 9. I think, if you want to know what I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be very narrow in scope compared to 7 remake. It's going to retain turn-based combat. It's going to probably retain the cartoony style, but clean it up. The characters are gonna still look familiar. You're not gonna, you know, look at Steiner and be like, what is this shit? He looks like Guts from Berserk. No, you're gonna see Steiner, and he's gonna still look like cartoony old Steiner, just with clean lines and HD textures. You know, it's gonna... If there's a spectrum, and FF10... if the FF10 HD remasters are on one end, and FF7 remake is on the other end, I think the 9 remake is going to sit kind of dead center with a slight lean towards the FF7 side of things. It's going to... in fact, I think to compare it to another game on this list, I think the FF9 remake is going to be more in the style of P3R than FF7 remake. That's what I think. It's going to be a strict remake of the game as it is, with new modern graphics that still keep the cartoony aesthetic, and maybe some cleaned up gameplay. and I don't think it'll be announced on Wednesday. I think that will probably... I think that's a game that if I wanted to pencil something in for absolutely this is going to be at Summer Games Fest. In fact, when is Summer Games Fest this year? I hate that it's called Summer Game Fest, by the way. Called Summer Games Fest. There's more than one game there, Jeff Keighley. June 6th. Yeah, I would say, because I think it released in late, I think FF9 released late June 2000. So I would absolutely say probably Summer Game Fest is when you're going to see... In fact, I swear Jeff stands on the fucking stage and calls it Summer Games Fest. But yeah, I think that's where you're going to see the FF9 remake. I think it is going to come to Switch 2, but I don't think it's going to be revealed on Wednesday. So that doesn't make this bingo board. So I gotta ping on Discord, hold on. Ah, just the turtle is done. WoW comes to the Switch 2. No, next question. It's gonna come to Xbox before it comes to the Switch 2. Next question. What else from Square Enix? You know, let's just go through some developer catalogs here at this point. I'm running out of games that spring to the top of my mind. Let's talk 2025 in gaming. What has come out? We're getting into the nitty-gritty here. What games do we think are going to be big deals? Man, it sucks that we have a notable death section now in the year in gaming, and it's got like a whole bunch of stuff. Though admittedly, I don't know calling David Lynch a notable death for video gaming, even if he has influenced things, you know? Like, sure, the guy who coined the term 4X. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure, Wayne June, he does voice acting. Sure. Composer for a number of games. Sure. The president of a company? Sure. Oh, the voice actor of Yen Sid died. In Japanese, anyway. That's a shame. A pro gamer? That's pushing it, but I'll allow it. But a filmmaker who influenced games? Who influenced some other guys? Nah. Alright, let's see. What stuff here? There was an Ys game that came out this year. I mean, here's the thing. If I rattled off... Like, we're gonna only focus on some, like, notable games here. With full apologies to Ys fans. Like, Ys Memory getting a port to Switch 2 is plausible, but it would be shoved deep in the third-party reel like 40 minutes into this direct. So, frankly, it doesn't matter enough for me to put it on this list. Donkey Kong Country Return. They are not... I'm putting my damn foot down. They are not porting Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze again. In fact, I'm so sure of that, I want to put my foot down and actually write something for once in the stream. New DK game. Caps. Gapdor. Game. I'm putting my foot down and saying new Donkey Kong. They are not gonna port Tropical Freeze. They are not gonna port the port of Country Returns. There will be a new Donkey Kong game. I'm not sure of that, but I'm putting my foot down on that. Like, we're getting to the point where some of these are going to be not necessarily I'm saying it will happen, but saying I believe it could happen. Tales of Graces, that's again buried in there. 7 Rebirth, we already have that. Strive just came to the Switch. This feels like cheating to start putting down, like... You know what? Here's how I'm gonna word this. It's a song, I like this song. Ah, it's Fates. Of course. Naturally it was Fates. Fighting... Game... Port. Current fighting game port. There we go. That way, you know, if they're like, aha! Marvel vs. Capcom Collection's coming to the Switch too, I'm not marking the damn slot. This tile specifically stands for Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6, the new Fatal Fury, whose number I don't remember. I don't even know if it has a number. It might just be an unnumbered reboot. Or Virtua Fighter 5? 6? Whatever the new one that they announced, that Sega announced last year. Those 5 games. Current fighting game. It's one of those 5. In fact, you know what? I'll be even more pedantic about this. Strive, MK1, Street Fighter 6. You know what? Let me actually check which Fatal Fury we are on. What do you mean Fatal Fury's most recent release was in 99? Good fucking god. Oh, it's because it's not out yet. Okay, that's why. The first new entry in the Fatal Fury series in 26 years. There had not been a Fatal Fury game in this millennium until next month. It's called City of the Wolves. I'm just gonna say FF for Fatal Fury. Or... Fuck, what was the other one? Virtua Fighter. Okay, so 5 Revo. I'm just going to assume it's VF6. We're just going to combine them all together, say them by their names. It's going to... If one of those 5, Strive, Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, or Virtua Fighter 6, if any of those 5 get announced as having a Switch 2 version... That's a check mark on the board. I believe we're going to see one of those. Surely we're going to see one of those. I think it's probably just Strive, but I bet we see one of those. And I do say 6... because I'm not counting 5 Revo. That game is like 15 fucking years old at this point. Let it die. Like, that running on the Switch 2 would not be a surprise. You expect that. Let's see, what else do we got from this year? Hello Kitty! Okay, you know what? This one's a total joke input, but we gotta have some jokes. Hello Kitty Island Adventure. come out for Switch. Listen, I played WoW back in the day. I know of the South Park episode. That's all I need to say. Here's a question. Insomniac Spider-Man. Do we think Insomniac Spider-Man, any of them, 1, Miles Morales, or 2, is going to come to Switch 2? They've already come to PC. So there's precedent. They're not a protected franchise like Bloodborne is. Sony's willing to deal. I don't think so, because I think Sony's relationship with Nintendo is weaker than their relationship with Microsoft. Because Microsoft is kind of laying the groundwork to go the route of Sega. I'm going to say no. They'll come to PC, but they won't come to Switch. Necrodancer... Civilization 7. No. Civ 7, from my understanding, didn't do well enough to warrant ports. Like, I think there's a world where Firaxis and Civilization are about to get iced. Next question. Tomb Raider. I already have Yakuza / Like a Dragon port. Which might be the smallest no. Okay, they did separate them. Very good. Glover. No. Yu-Gi-Oh! Collection. A port of Falsebound Kingdom. No. Everhood 2. I know folks who play Everhood. They said Everhood 2 wasn't as good as the first one. That's all I need to know. Rise of the Ronin. Wonderstop. Oh, that's a neat little box art. Let's see. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon full of water and light? That's anime if I ever heard of it. You ever completely fuck up your guess on how much water is left in your thing and almost spill it all over yourself? Hi. I just did that. Do they start porting Xenoblades again? No. I feel like they've been too busy porting them right now to have made a new one. Backyard Baseball 97's back, baby. iOS and Droid. Man, if it wasn't for the fact that I know that these Madoka games get blown up faster, well, not super fast, but they get blown up in America super fast, I'd say that comes to Switch too, but that ain't happening. First Berserker Kazan. Here's some upcoming stuff, but let's see if any of them might have a surprise Switch 2 port. In fact, let me do this. Let me not do that, because that's actually in a different program. Sorry, folks. Well, actually, I can do this. Hold on. Safety hide. Good thing I safety hid. Technically, my homepage does give some information that is kind of important to not give away. Alright, here, we can actually do this. Everyone can enjoy seeing what I'm doing now. April and June. Let's see. Man, already, suddenly, just the quality of games is just driven off a cliff here. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I don't think so. because it took all that work just to get it to come to PlayStation 5. I think if Microsoft could have kept that exclusive, they'd have done it. Last Defense Academy. Man. Fucking high on life. Stop! Cease existing. Yeah, it's amazing how fast this all fell apart here, huh? It's like Doom. Do you think Doom comes? There's a world where Doom comes to the Switch 2. There is a world. I don't know if I like the world, but it exists. Following up on the Animal Crossing memes. It's coming to everything else. I'm just gonna put down Doom. I'm willing to allow it if they're like, yeah, we're porting, you know, like Doom Eternal or something even. We're kind of getting to the point where it's like, you know, we're starting to get to the level of desperate where ports are acceptable. Like just a brand port. I swear this game was announced, oh god. Oh, that's from 2014. That explains why I've been hearing about it for years. Never mind. Moving on. Sonic Wings, which is not about Sonic the Hedgehog. Fun fact. Yeah, like now we're getting into like post E3 stuff, and like this is gonna be desperately empty at this point. This game did so badly that it doesn't even have its own page. Metal Gear. I realized I shouldn't be highlight. I was gonna highlight that and be like, wow, what a dumb game, and then I realized, wait, I shouldn't be showing that. That brief flash might violate TOS. Oh yeah, 2XKO. That's not a high-profile franchise, so it doesn't count for that one. Arc Age Chronicles. Yeah, Arc Age Chronicles. You know, if you want to play the story of the game where the story sucked and the fun part was the fucking crafting and, like, running fucking caravans all over the place. You're getting raided by, like, rival players for your caravans. That was where the fun shit was in that game. Chicken Police. Darwin's Paradox. That game ain't coming out this year. Doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page. Ah, there's one. It hasn't been confirmed for Switch 2 yet, but I would eat my fucking sock if Time Stranger isn't confirmed for Switch 2. Do I think it will happen on Wednesday? 50-50. Which is better than my expectations for some things that will probably end up on this list. It's better than my expectations for FF14 Mobile being there. That's for damn sure. 50-50 is pretty good at this point. Do I think they... Do I think they tease Gen 10? That's a good one. I don't think so. My reasoning is that I think there are some people who think that Gen 10 is going to be like a February release. There's some people who think it might release on the 30th anniversary next year. That is next year, right? I think it's next year. I, however, do not think so. I think they will announce Gen 10 at Pokemon Day next year, but it will launch fall, as always. In fact, I think there's a world where Gen 10 is next year's big holiday launch for the Switch 2. Which will be great for me, because I will absolutely buy a Pokemon Special Edition Nintendo Switch 2 for my niece, thus completing not just one circle in my life of my aunt and uncle giving me a Nintendo 64, but also what I think might have been my actual first console, which was the Special Pikachu Edition in Game Boy Color. Boom. Many closed circles. History rhymes, even when we don't want it to. Let's see, what else do we got here? Everybody's golf. Hey, there's Final Fantasy XIV Mobile. That's already on there. 5 laps at Freddy. Surely this is not an official game, right? Game of Thrones, nah. Ghost of Yotai? That's PS5 exclusive for at least the next 3 years. GTA 6? Nah. Because I don't think they'd be able to commercialize it enough. Remember, GTA 6 is not the thing Rockstar cares about. What they care about is the inevitable GTA Online 2 that will come along with that. Don't play this game. It uses AI. A lot. Also enforce straightness. If you care about that. I certainly do. I'm in a group chat where I'm pretty sure every single person in it is somewhere on the LGBTQ acronym. That's really all you need to know. Ah, Kitsune! There's a game they could port. No. Mafia: The Old Country. Do you think that gets a port? I'm gonna actually write that down. I'm gonna do it. I think if we're talking big name games, if we're talking big name 2025 games, I think Mafia has good odds of getting a Switch 2 announcement. That seems on kind of a level that Nintendo could get. Will it run well? Probably not. Will it be there? Yeah. Happened with the Switch. Early on, there were a bunch of ports that just didn't... A bunch of, like, modern games came onto it. None of them really ran well. They were there. Mouthwashing. Let's go. Okay. EA Sports. It's in the game. I'm just gonna use that as just a blanket statement. There's gonna be a FIFA, an NBA, Madden. There's gonna be something confirmed for Switch 2 from EA Sports. I'm not going to include 2K Sports, for a very specific reason. 2K has a history of supporting Nintendo. EA has historically not supported them since the Wii U. So seeing EA Sports there would be a big grab for Nintendo. Usually always is at the start of a console generation. Then you give it about a year or two and EA stops supporting them again. Man, there's another Outer Worlds coming. I forgot about that. It's good to see that that franchise is taking off. Here's a question. Do you think Nintendo lets Palworld come to the Switch too? Anyway, moving on. This game, by the way, is published by Square Enix. I learned that again today. Because I keep having to relearn it because I keep forgetting it because that just sounds like nonsense. Oh, Maggia Etcetra's coming to Windows? Hell yeah, I'll play it then. HD Reciteer! Oh, hell yeah. I think I still have the original of that. After this, we're going to go through 2024 for things that could get a belated port. And then, I think at that point, we'll call it, we'll generate the board. Star Wars Hunters. I thought that said Splatoon 2. That is something, actually, that we should do. At the end of this, once we run through 2024, we'll run through the Nintendo franchises and see which ones do I think will get games within, like, the next 12 months that could conceivably be announced. Then we'll generate the card. Virtua Fighter. They're actually doing a remake of Yooka-Laylee, huh? Came out for Linux. That's kind of cool. Video game-based film and... I still can't believe fucking Farmagia is getting an anime. Whee! Up we go! Ooh. The Japan Game Awards loved Tears of the Kingdom. Never forget. Let's just run down some of these critically acclaimed titles while we're here. Elden Ring? Well, actually, I'm gonna write that one down. That is a non-zero. Again, that's kind of like Mafia, one of those big-name games that runs terribly, but it's there. Boom. That was Animal Well, and why was it acclaimed? Alright. I'm not including Balatro. Balatro is like one of the easiest slam dunks of all time. Alright. forgot Tekken. Hold on. I'm going to take Virtua Fighter off. I'm going to take Virtua Fighter off, and for a very specific reason, which is that we don't have a release date for it yet, so I don't think it's going to be given like a special confirmation. I think it's one of those games that might just very quietly kind of tip, 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 and then the Switch 2 logo appears on their website. I don't think it's going to get a trailer. So I'm going to take that off and put Tekken 8 on instead. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, by the way, still a top 3 selling game last year. It's nice to see EA Sports College Football, by the way, got some love. This might be weird to talk about on a thing about the Switch 2, but I do like that because games based on college football were dead for close to probably 2 decades. So that performing well means EA is going to keep making them, which is always good. I mean, big in Japan is like all these Nintendo franchises. We'll get to those later. Helldivers? I don't think so. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was a top-selling game in America, but not Japan. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a moment and go refill my water. What do you mean we've been here an hour and a half already? Jesus Christ. Let's see. Anything else here that really stands out to me? No, not particularly. Shouts to the Apple Vision Pro. It released, then it died. Prince of Persia. Nah. Toho, nah. You know what? I'm willing to commit to putting that on potentially a card. It's already been announced, so I'm not going to put it down, but Professor Layton I also think might be shown. Like, we've got enough stuff here that we're going to be losing some stuff when we shuffle the card anyway. We haven't even gotten to the Nintendo stuff yet, so I'm going to leave Layton off, because that feels like it's a very probable thing. I'm looking to have some stuff with a little more... looking for some stuff with a little more bite to them. I'm not trying to black out a bingo card, you know? Arzette. Possibly, but again, I don't think that's gonna... I think there's gonna be very limited slots in this, and I think for a lot of, like, non-legendary indies, you're gonna lose something. In fact, actually, speaking of legendary indies, is Is Wednesday is tomorrow finally the day where Deltarune is tomorrow? At least news. Who knows? Again, Balatro is one of the easiest slam dunks of all time. We're not touching that one. Iggy Party! Held up by NetEase. Oh, speaking of NetEase, here's one. I believe NetEase has already said they want to do it. So, let's just say they make it official on Wednesday. That Marvel Rivals will come to the Switch too. What else do we got here? Stalker. Most famous video game franchise? I think the only video game franchise to come from Ukraine. Cookie Run. Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush came. Did Hi-Fi Rush come to the Switch? Wait a second. Hold on. It never came to the Switch. Well, that makes a free square to me. Hi-Fi Rush. Come on down. You'll be on the Switch too. Princess Peach Showtime. I need to play that game still. Palia. Is that another one of those Pokemon likes? I don't remember. Might just be confusing it with Pal World. Which apparently I should get if it's on sale. Content warning. Man, that game flashed for like a month. You're good for it. Glad it did. Yellow Taxi goes vroom. Dave the Diver. That game got some love. Trying not to throw too many indies on here because we're already going to start losing stuff as it is. I've said this before. And because I think slots are going to be limited, so like, Dave the Diver might have the kind of money to make it in. But also, do we really care? Sea of Thieves? It could. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but it could. Paladins. World of Warcraft Cataclysm Classic. That's not coming to Switch. But, boy. Agree with a friend of mine. I hope Midnight comes out later this year and absolutely just trolls the pants off of 14 because 14 has kind of reached the same point that WoW did, maybe 5 years ago, where it was the undisputed, well, really 6 to 8 years ago, where it was like the undisputed king of the genre, and it desperately needed someone to push it because it was starting to stagnate. 14's kind of hitting that point as well. And unfortunately, WoW and 14 are the only games that can ever push each other. Multiverse is dead, so that doesn't go on the list. Fucking Nightmare Cart. Fuckers really made it happen. I appreciate that the original Octopath released for PlayStation, and 2 released for Xbox on the same day. That's just hilarious. Octopath. You know what? We need some new games in here. Octopath 3. kind of scrolling faster here now. Just because, I have something else that I want to do here. Well, I got a couple more things to do here before we generate this, actually. Oni. Like, I think we're kind of reaching the point with a lot of these where, like, I don't know if there's anything really that, like, huge that you'd put on here, you know? Man, last year really was just a lot of, like, flash-in-the-pan games, huh? Jedi Survivor. You know what? We'll put them both in the same square. If either one of them happens. Gotta start saving on some space here. I saw Phoenix Springs and thought it was Phoenix Wright for some reason. Yeah, like, we're getting into more recent stuff now. Like, I think we're kind of good on ports. Oh, Kiwami 1 did come to the Switch already. Okay. That would explain why people are talking about 0. Because 0 would be the next one as far as graphical capabilities. Yeah, okay, I think we can pretty safely put this in the completed bin. This adventure. Let's see. What was that down there? Oh, Blue Archive the animation. Let's see. Top Nintendo Switch games. Best-selling Nintendo Switch video games. Is there anything that makes this list that isn't first-party? And for that matter, let's just run down some of these first-party games. Animal Crossing. Do we think there'll be a new Animal Crossing? Not yet. I think some of the stuff they gotta save in reserve, and I think Animal Crossing is one of those. New Smash? I don't think it'll happen, but I'm gonna put it on here. Sakurai has said that as long as he is directing the series, they will not do a 8 Deluxe kind of situation for Smash. But he did tweet out like a smiley face or like the Japanese onomatopoeia for laughing or something. Meaning he's got something most likely. Let's put Smash, let's put Kirby in. One of those two is probably happening. I'm gonna say 3D Mario, because I think 2D Mario is too easy. A 3D Mario game. Do I think it happens? Eventually during the Switch 2's life cycle, probably in those first 3 years, yes. You know, do I think it'll be revealed on Wednesday? I'm far less certain. Pokemon, we already discussed Gen 10. ZA, we already discussed. Zelda... That came out long enough ago that I'm going to actually not commit. I'm not committing to a Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition. I don't think it's happening. I don't think it did well enough to earn that. Mario Party... Nah, the most recent one was too recent. Splatoon, however, I am going to commit to. I'm going to commit to Splatoon. Now, whether that be a port of 1, a port of a Switch 2 edition of 3, well, no. Actually, I'm going to hard commit here. Splatoon 4. They put out 2 of them on the Switch, and it did incredibly well for them. I think Nintendo wants to have a Splatoon game in rotation as often as possible. And that means probably revealing Splatoon 4 on Wednesday. Probably not launching this year, but I bet you that's one of those, like, early 2026 kind of games. Stardew Valley, one of the biggest sellers on the Switch. That amazes me. Like, the top 20, I believe, is entirely First, or Pokemon Party. Yep. But you know what? You know what the highest rated non-first party or Pokemon game is? It's actually Monster Hunter Rise. Fuck you. The second, however, is Stardew Valley. And that's damn impressive. Monster Hunter Worlds? No, absolutely not. Ain't happening. Next question. Moving on. Actually, Monster Hunter World. Not Wilds, World. I don't believe Wild is coming to the Switch 2. I think it's too ambitious. But World might be just ambitious enough. Do you have to pay for Suika Game? I thought it was free. I mean, Minecraft is free. Oh, yeah, we completely forgot about talking about first-party titles. Oh, that's right, because there's nothing there! I don't think Mario Maker 3 is coming. At least not right now. It'll come eventually, but that's one that we might not see till, like, Summer Direct of next year. New DK game we already put on there. Kirby we put on there. Oh yeah, the freest thing since sliced bread. Fire Emblem. As much as I'd love a Hyrule Warriors game, I don't think that'll be there on Wednesday. There's a chance we might get another Warriors game yet before the Switch 1 is dead, but that's not going to be a Switch 2 launch title, I guarantee you. Not because it's specifically because it's probably going to be based off of Tears of the Kingdom's Zelda side story. Pikmin, too recent. Well, not super recent, but recent enough that I think that's probably like more mid-console life. Metroid, I mean, we already talked about that. You know what? Here's another joke entry. ARMS 2. They try to resurrect the franchise. We'll go through the top 100. Captain Toad. Taiko no Tsuchi. That's actually impressive if that sold that well. We'll either go top 100 or until we dip under 1 million units. Mario Luigi, Dragon Ball, Mario Kart. It's a fucking car game. Yeah, we're deep in the doo-doo now. Engage didn't sell that well, interestingly. Again, anything Pokemon, we're just gonna shovel off to the side. Game Freak does its own stuff. I'm just going to say Platinum Games. Something from Platinum Games. Could be Astral Chain 2, could be a port of Bayo 3, could be Bayo 4, could be something brand new. Hey, speaking of Bayo, I'm pretty sure these are sold as a combo pack, so the fact that more 1 was sold than 2 is weird. SMT5 Vengeance has already come out on the Switch, so that's not going to be a thing. And yeah, there we fall off. I think that's a pretty solid list. Probably got equal numbers for on and off. Alright. Let's shuffle the words. What do we get here? Just make sure that this feels like a believable bingo board. DS on Nintendo Online, Yakuza port, Octopath 3, game. I don't know if I like that these are on the same row, but if there's only a couple issues like that, I'm fine with it. New Phoenix Wright, sure. Got some tech stuff. Themes, Metaphor, Kirby, Elden Ring, EA Sports. Those two being on the same line is fine. It's 2K and AI upscaling being on the same line that makes me go, Mario, Arms 2, Deltarune, Time Stranger, 7 Remake port, Summer Launch, 16 Cloud Edition, New DK, FF14 Mobile, Hello Kitty Island Adventure. We got a funny one on there. Just one, but we got it. Just check the verts for a second. Just gotta make sure there's nothing here that's obviously contradictory. Like, if we had summer launch and fall launch on the same line, those are contradictory. Regen the board. An AP tablet, EA Sports is in the game. Yep, alright, that all lines up. That lines up fine enough. That lines up fine enough. Cool. Not making it is Monster Hunter World, and N64 and GBA and Base Online, Hi-Fi Rush. I am disappointed that that none of my price estimates made it on here. That makes me a little sad. But this is what it gave us. And we must accept what the randomization gave us. Can't make it any bigger. There it is. My bingo card. In all of its low quality glory. I'm gonna copy this just in case. Let's see if we can generate some. Download 20 cards for free. Sure, we'll download the PDFs. What I might do is I will... Well, let's open the PDF in the browser first, huh? How about that? Take a look at some of these cards. Here's your calling sheet. Everything that's in there. Here we go. Look at them all. Beautiful. I might download this and, like, upload this PDF and like put a link to the upload in the YouTube description. Just, you know, if folks want to grab one of these of their own, one of the 20 that were generated, and play along with my list of things. Or they can come up with their own, of course. But the option is always fun. And also, you know, that way we'll also include the proper list of things, which we copy to paste later. Anyway, we've been here almost 2 hours doing this, which is longer than I anticipated. My head, admittedly, is doing pretty good. However, is it worth it to boot the game up for like 30 minutes of gameplay? Probably not. So what I'm probably going to do is cut things off here, and like I said, we will be back on Wednesday, probably in the afternoon. I'm not going to hard commit to a time, but if I had to guesstimate, it'll probably be like around 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time. So like 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and so on and so forth. We will start by watching the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. I'll have my bingo card. This bingo card, my bingo card, which is not one of the 20 bingo cards that were generated, I'm pretty sure, because none of them have DS in the first slot. Oh no, they do, but it's a different card. Anything else have it in the first slot? Nope. So yeah, my card is entirely distinct from the 20 generated cards. We will watch the Direct, we will play along with this card, and we'll see if we can get a bingo on it. After that, we'll play the new Enna game, Enna Dream Barbecue. Or Dream BBQ, whatever you want to call it. I like calling it Dream Barbecue. Maybe they'll give us a direct intended pronunciation. We'll see. That'll be what we do on Wednesday. Friday, we will be back with Final Fantasy X at our normal 8 o'clock p.m. time, where we will, you know, have some fun with that. We collected the Celestial Mirror, so we're gonna backtrack our way back to where we were at the peak of Mount Gagazet, because there was a warp platform. There's a couple... I'll probably actually manually walk back through Gagazet, because there's apparently a couple item boxes that I missed that I should probably pick up, one of which is apparently part of the Celestial Weapon quest. Kind of important. And then, yeah, next week, Monday, then, we will resume doing Hacker's Memory. Hopefully, I won't have a fucking migraine. It'll be fun. You know, I should have made a bingo square for Cyber Sleuth port, but that's so old at this point. It's already on the Switch, you know? Like, again, you gotta make some cuts somewhere. That's one of those cuts. Time Stranger gets on the list instead, which, by the way, is on my bingo card. I'm really hoping that's there. Hell yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming out and, you know, getting the hype started early. See you Wednesday for when the hype becomes real. Bye.